Hey, I'm trying to start up here.
We're talking.
Yeah, and I'm trying to record.
Yeah, but then I said we're starting.
Did you say it out loud?
Let me tell you a story about Josh Hackney. Okay, welcome to the Legends panel at this year's SOE Live. Sorry we're starting a little late, but that's okay. I've given a lot of time for questions and answers here at the end. I'm sure you'll have many. In fact, I'll probably have Sport and Tunso come up here and join us to field any detailed systems questions that I'm sure you're going to have. But those are actually not the focus of this panel. What we're going to be talking about today is a little bit about what our plans are for future Legends and Legends modes. Okay, so let's get into that right away. First, I want to talk to you about Legends UI. We are going to be doing a UI revamp, as I touched on in the keynote a little bit. And what we're doing right now is kind of working with various screens and things like that. This is sort of a wireframe that we're working on right now for how we imagine the Legends screen working. As you can see all the characters a little more easily all at once. We're just kind of making that a much larger view for you. We also want to do some things, make the view larger, of course. We want to make selection a lot easier. So the flow for Legends is really awkward right now in terms of like, okay, you got to cube your map, and you got to go down here, click on your character, the blank portrait, then go to some screen, click on the thing, get back over here, then click ready, and you have to move up to the ready button. It's a real pain in the ass. Oh yeah, God forbid that bug where somebody chooses before you and you're in a group and you get kicked out and got to start it all over again. Oh, you like that feature? We'll keep it. Okay. So you can see here that everything's just going to be a little more easier to view, easier to see. And this is just a wireframe. Things may change here. Random option down there in the corner. If you just want to, I mean, really, sometimes you do just want to let fate choose for you and then see kind of in the spur of the moment that excitement of being like, oh, I got cheetah. I'm going to play cheetah now, you know. And somebody you wouldn't normally care play before, you might want to actually play when you get a random. This might be a great equalizer when facing Clutch or Slav in one of the matches that they don't know what they're playing and might be slightly taken off guard at the beginning. Yes, maybe, no? No, he says no. Skin selection. So we really want to move more toward not having like, an actual just 5 copies of a certain character just because they have a different skin, okay? So what we will be moving toward in the future is, if we put out Batman variations, they're not going to be individual selections in there when the new UI goes in. We're actually going to be able to choose a skin that you want to play as that character, so this stays less cluttered right now, okay? Now we do have some, in the past we've released things in a particular way that really kind of monkey with how we want to go forward with releasing Legends, and a true new Legend character in a skin. Okay, Future Harley comes to mind, Arkham Asylum Joker comes to mind. Really, Batman, Future Batman's a little different because he has that one different move, I suppose, right? Does Arkham Asylum Joker have the different move as well?
No, Arkham Asylum
too.
All Batmans are the same.
Exactly. All Batman are the same. Sorry, it's the Joker one that's different, right?
Harley's the same as well.
Yeah, so those are like skins, right? So there are skins, and then there are slight variants, and then there are the unique Legends characters. So what we would like to do is true skins won't be separate characters anymore. They'll be something that you would probably unlock, but need to have the original one unlocked in order to play or utilize. In other words, so there's a central character that you're either purchasing or unlocking, and then there's a skin, which is a vanity feature that you can either unlock or purchase. I haven't decided how that's necessarily going to work yet. But it is more of a vanity choice than a functional choice, okay? So, I want to talk a little bit about how we choose Legends, all right, and what we've learned about our choices when we are picking Legends characters. So why this lineup? Anybody have any clues to why we picked our opinions, why we picked this line? Why, Chris? Because people QQ for most of them? Kind of. That went into it a little bit. What? No, not really, actually. Some of them do, but not all of them. And that actually didn't necessarily factor into it. Slightly, you can definitely see that had an influence with Flash and Grodd and maybe Black Adam and Shazam, sorry. The Lanterns really don't kind of oppose each other or anything like that. They just had that Lantern theme. Deathstroke and Green Arrow, I suppose you could argue that those two are opposite each other, but actually them opposing didn't have much to do with it. That Deathstroke and Green Arrow we wanted to do, but we were waiting for weapon mastery tech for Deathstroke, and there was certainly, I would call it QQing, but there were requests for it, so it was very important to get him in there. There were also requests for Flash, so you probably all remember me kind of saying, look, after we're done with the current list that we have, we will do Flash. Well, the current list we had that I was referring to was Guy Gardner, Green Arrow, and Deathstroke. Okay. What do you think, Matt?
Is it the amount of moves and powers that we already have behind the scenes, so the rest versus reward?
So you mean reuse of certain assets and things like that? Somewhat. A little bit of all of what you're saying can go into the selection. But actually there's some data-driven choices that we've looked at as to what we feel would be the most successful legends to bring to bear. Now, you can say, oh my god, this is a character we absolutely need because she or he or it isn't represented right now in the roster and they're an important character in the comics. Maybe so, but they might not be everybody's cup of tea. And so you end up putting a lot of resources and things behind something that very few people play or want, and yes, it's in there for variety's sake. It certainly looks awesome if you look at the, Justice League of America, full-out blown poster of every member that's ever been in there. Yeah, they're there. But does that mean that they would make a good Legends choice? Let's find out a little bit about that. So, faction. Faction makes a huge difference in terms of popularity of a Legends character. What do you think the most popular faction, by faction I mean hero-villain, that Legend characters fall into? What do you think people like to play or buy the most? Villain. If you said villain, you are wrong. It is hero. Okay? By far, heroes are more popular Legends characters than villains are. Okay? And there's a reason for that. Until recently, really everything was from a hero's point of view. All the comics were from the hero's point of view. They were the hero's journey. They were the hero overcoming the gallery of villains. Why do you think the heroes have a rogues gallery? It's because the hero goes on. The villains are recyclable, right? Those antagonists are something that serve the purpose of telling the story of the hero, the protagonist. And so we're used to and conditioned to seeing things from their point of view, stepping into their shoes as a reader, so you want to step into their shoes in the game. It's just kind of natural, and it proves out in the data. Gender, okay? We got a lot of flack that there weren't a lot of females on the roster. We started adding more females to the roster. Nobody plays the females on the roster. I shouldn't say they don't play them. They do play them. But they certainly are less popular when it comes to unlocking or actually purchasing them. So you'd think Wonder Woman would do great, right? Right? She was OP for a while and everything like that. And Superman was deemed as underpowered since his launch. Okay? Superman outsold Wonder Woman like you could not believe. Like, it was so much more popular. Every single one of our Legends characters, when you break them down, the female characters are on the bottom of the list in terms of popularity. So yes, they might be great when you're actually playing them in the game, and they could have really cool mechanics. I know Catwoman was extremely popular during the tournament, and so was Wonder Woman. But as far as terms of how many people at large that play Legends are actually adding these to their collection, it's very few. Right? Yeah.
Where does Superman actually rank in as far as?
Superman, according to the Marketplace Legends, Superman is the #1 selling Marketplace Legends character we ever had. By a long shot. He's been out for, what's that? Yeah, so Batman's been out since the beginning, and Superman has been out, half or a third of the time? What was the stat we looked at, Josh?
Around 2/3 of the time.
Around 2/3 of the time, and he is way outsold Batman. Way outsold Batman. Uniqueness. Every time we've looked at a character that's sort of a variant on another character, whether it's like purchasable, like Harley or Future Harley or Arkham Asylum Joker, people just would prefer the original character. It doesn't seem to matter to them to get the other character. Even when it's a direct clone or it has a slight variant, it doesn't make an impact. The original character is the most popular one that we release. So releasing a variant of a character doesn't make much sense. Releasing a skin of a character, which is a vanity choice for the one you already have, makes a lot of sense. But we have to figure out exactly, and those are much easier for us to produce, quite frankly, right? Because it's really just a remodel on the character and then figuring out the tech and the UI to actually put it in the game. But it's not actually doing new special effects and animations and combos and worrying about the balance and all those kind of things. So uniqueness makes a big difference. We see a lot of people more interested in a unique character that comes to the roster. And notoriety makes a huge difference too. Okay, so the more popular the character is, a la Superman, the better they're going to do. So you start stacking these things up. Okay, a very popular character that we've never introduced on the roster before, that's a male hero, is going to be super popular. If you go to the other direction with those statistics, it absolutely pans out so far that how we've seen that it doesn't necessarily, move as well, right? So this roster, you'll notice, has more heroes than villains. And at this time, because we've released some female characters very recently, right now it has a lineup of all males. And a monkey. Who's a male monkey. But you know what I'm saying. Okay.
We think.
I'd actually be happy if you released Cheetah, because she'd probably be the absolute bottom of every list.
Yeah, exactly. At least you got it there now, right?
Yeah, it's a cool character.
So honestly, probably one of our more popular mentors from a performance and sort of fan, wow, I really like that character when I'm playing them in the game, is Cersei, right? Least popular Legends character we've ever released, I believe. Like absolute bottom of the list. And she's really popular. She's like really good to play, right? I mean, she has a blink mechanic, she's got all the pets and everything like that. Like, just didn't move. So we put a lot of effort into that and didn't necessarily, see that in return.
I think Cersei in this game, though, has really been utilized more than she ever has in the comics, so I think that's something, it's really good for the game, too.
Yeah, and so you think like, oh, you need to get this person in because they haven't been utilized yet. Well, great, that goes for the uniqueness factor, but it's not the number. We also have to consider the other factors of what the composition of that character is. So right now, what I sort of have been thinking when I'm thinking about these Legends characters, and this list is formed for a variety of the reasons that you guys have noticed right here. We will probably, I'm not saying we are never going to release a female again. I'm never saying we're never going to release a villain again. That's absolutely untrue. We certainly will be doing that. But you are going to see more often probably a unique male hero coming in before we then get a male villain, and then also a female hero or villain coming into the list. So you're going to see it weighted a little bit because it just seems to be what you all want to play. We can say, everybody can say, oh, I want Zatanna. But when it comes right down to it, are you actually interested in purchasing Zatanna or unlocking her as part of your membership thing? I don't know. It doesn't seem to be the case from what we see. Okay? What's that? So, I bet he'd sell better than Zatanna, to be honest with you. I don't know. We'd have to see, especially if it was Jamie Race instead of Jay Porter, right? I just have to do that every time. I have to. How about Black Lantern and Blue Beetle? Yeah. Do that. I know. We sold one. Yes. Okay. All right. So that's why that lineup. So let's talk about some of the new Legends. Okay. I just want to preface this with. I was supposed to get some better pictures of these guys. These were temporary, but it didn't quite come through, and I didn't have time to get video. So these are just going to be talking sessions on these guys, and I apologize for the lameness of the shot there. But let's talk about Kyle Rayner. How many people have seen the video and preview that we did of Kyle Rayner? Okay, so some of you, this will be new information. Some of you have seen it before. He's going to have dual rings. He has a green and a blue, one on each hand. Okay. But we call him Blue Lantern Kyle Rayner, though he still has the green ring as well. He's going to use a one-handed weapon, so there's another one-handed character coming to the mix, and it's a katana. It's a hard light construct katana, and it looks really cool. And he is going to be a flyer, obviously. So his power loadout is as follows. So he has a construct pencil, which has comboing that you can do into it. It's a lot like the baseball bat, but with his artist background, he changed it to be a pencil, so an artist pencil. He has Inspired Blast, which is a PB AoE Blue Lantern ability. You can see they're color-coded here for ease of tracking these. And it's a lot like St. Walker's kind of PBOE with the hope symbol that comes down onto the ground. Flying Fist is a lunge that he does with construct gloves, green construct boxing gloves on his hands. He has the lantern ward, which he puts the lantern down and it does knock stuff back. Okay? Mind over Matter is a shield that he can put on himself to endure greater damage. And by far the coolest power in the game, which went through a lot of iteration, quite frankly, when we were doing it to really capture a lot of aspects of the Blue Lantern Corps when they first came on the scene, and the Green Lanterns as well is conflict rating. So what he does is he puts up 4 green hard light magnifying glasses, and then if you remember when you first see Singwalker and they go meet Brother Worth, he and Brother Worth like reignite a dying sun and they turn it into a blue star. And so we actually have blue suns that appear behind the magnifying glass, and then they do this cool blue light through the magnifying glass. And it'll hit the area, it'll stun the person that's in there. If they don't break out and get out in time, there'll be a big hit followed by a little dot that gets put on them. So very, very cool character. Kyle is going to be the tankiest of the Lantern characters. He is very much like a tank style character, so he's very tough and very durable in that regard. Okay.
The most stealth out of all of them.
Well, so there's different ways that we handle the Legends characters, whether we consider them we basically have, there's a point system that Drens and the systems guys use when they start thinking about how they're going to put together the powers. So if a character has no defensive abilities, they typically get their health buffed up. So like Superman is an example of this, right? Or Kyle is different. Kyle actually has the shield that comes up around him, so his health doesn't necessarily go up in that regard. So he can withstand the damage by mitigating it rather than just having a larger health pool. So we consider those more like tank kind of characters. Yeah.
So Flying Fist is the boxing gloves?
Yeah.
Is one green and one blue?
No, they're both green. So what we wanted to do was, there's only one down at the bottom which mixes, so it's got the green-blue text right there. Otherwise, they are distinctly red or, green, or getting ahead of myself, green or blue. Okay. Yeah?
Because he has 2 rings, will he spawn in green or blue or
No, he was always going to be in his blue outfit. There's been some, like I saw a forum post yesterday about somebody that was really complaining about the fact that he didn't have a blue and green costume, like when Hal first got the blue and green ring. But I found too that later on when like characters were getting multiple rings, that they were in a particular costume, they didn't like all of a sudden start doing, he's got prismatic rainbow costume now because he has 3 or 4 rings on his finger. They really realized that that was kind of a complication at one point. So we just make it that he has the one costume on of the primary ring that he's wielding at that moment or channeling at that moment. He also has the other ring which he can augment his powers with.
possible reskin maybe?
What's that?
Possible reskin maybe?
Sure, I mean, anything's possible, right? As long as we can get it approved by DC. So that was Hal's actual costume. I don't think I've ever seen Kyle wearing a hybrid outfit like that. He's either always been blue or green. When they did it the first time, it's interesting, like you'll see them try new things, and then you can tell sometimes when they're like, I don't know if we want to stick with that as a pattern, as a rule going forward of how things work when you do, because it gets really complicated. So now when they switch back and forth and they have the different rings on, they're adopting a full costume. I think they kind of work that out as they're going through the comics. Any other Kyle questions? Yeah.
I know in the past, like on launch, you had like Batman and Robin when they're grouped together buff. Was there ever any thought of having a buff interaction between the
Let's
Lanterns?
defer that question to the end when I get Halish up here. Because those are interesting things, but they really speak to a lot of balance stuff going on with Legends. And right now we're going through a big pass of trying to get our arenas back to a more stable level. And when you add certain systems like that that favor combinations, you can get yourself into tricky trouble about optimum and only play these group or these characters together, which is something I don't think we necessarily want to favor. But we'll have him speak on that. We'll put him on the hot seat after. He looks thrilled. Okay. Guy Gardner. How do you like that model, by the way? It's pretty cool, right? I like it. So yeah, what do we call? Sometimes the Drens get and Sport will get these all jumbled up. We call them Guile Rayner or Guy. What do we call them?
Kai and Guile?
Kai and Guile. That's right. Yeah, Kai and Guile. So Guy Gardner, dual rings, green and red. Okay. He has a 2-handed weapon, so he wields 2-handed, and we wanted it to make it as angry as possible. So we did a big 2x4 that has nails sticking out of the end of it that he's wielding in combat. Originally we had an axe, and it was kind of this, crazy fantasy-looking axe and something like that, and it just didn't feel very Guy. We just wanted something that was a little more straightforward and simple. So for that kind of escape from New York, look for him with the weapon that he has. And he is also, of course, as all the other lanterns, a flyer. Looking at his powers, he has a lot more red focus than Kyle has, like blue. Kyle is a little bit more of a true hybrid in terms of use of both colors in his powers, and Guy will have more of a focus on the red. So pulverized is very cool. It is a combo PB AOE, a little bit like Bizarro or Aftershock from Earth. Okay. What's that? Kilowatt, yeah, sorry, Kilowatt. And our kill. So pulverize though is a concert combo, and he'll start punching the ground, and big, huge red fists come up from above him and start punching the ground around him as well. And there is a limited amount of times that you can actually do that combo. He has a construct missile, which is a big green missile, which he shoots straight out at opponents will do knockdown. Whoops, too far. The Morning Star is cool. It's very much from the Rage power, where it does the big Morning Star flail that comes up and smashes the ground. He has, this is an old name, and I apologize for that. It's getting changed. It's not a Rage barrier. It is going to be a green hard light shield that he puts up around himself. So it's not a Rage power. It is a will power. That's an erroneous name there. And he has Rage Eruption, which is puke. Okay. And Vicious Pursuit, which is a lunge that he does. Okay, so he's, I wouldn't describe him as, he's less glass cannon than Atrocitus, okay, because he has the shield that he can put up there. So he has some more survivability than Atrocitus does, but he does a lot of DPS, especially with the Rage Eruption that he can do and the Pulverize that he stacks on top of that. So he's a really powerful character, very fun to play, and definitely just, it feels a little, has a little more survivability than Atrocitus does. Yeah.
Is the two-handed a construct, and is the
Yeah.
Rage Eruption, does it have a PI?
The construct is, it is a construct on the Spike 2x4. On the Rage Eruption, I don't think it has a power interaction, but it does have a dot on top of it. Is that correct, Jesse? Where's Jesse?
Yeah, there's no power interaction.
No power interaction on that. Typically, Legends characters don't really have a PI. Any Guy questions? No? Okay. How about this guy? Want to hear a little bit about this guy?
Yeah.
Okay, first bow character coming to Legends PvP. Trick arrows, so he has a lot of stuff in the quiver that he's using out of the tray. He uses the bow, and he's an acrobat. Alright, so let's take a look at his powers. So the flashbang arrow is a PBAE that goes straight up in the air, he launches it on the ground, boom, big explosion, does the stun. The spinning crane kick combo is very cool. He's going to be able to also do a grapple line combo. And these two things, I'm going to skip ahead to 2 and 5. These two things work in conjunction with each other really well. Like, they're very cool. So he, like other Legends, he's very agile and mobile. Okay, so he's constantly going in and out. A little bit like Cheetah in a way, or you can think Nightwing in a way with a lot of retreat and closing abilities. But these actually have combos associated with them. Okay, so let me skip ahead to 5. With 5, actually, you know what? Let me go through the other stuff first.
Let me start.
Yeah, this is the big finish. I can't do it up front. So cryogenic arrow, obviously, ice arrow. You can kind of get what that's going to do, right? Phosphorus arrow, big fire arrow that he can shoot with the damage over time that it applies. And he has an electromagnetic flurry shot where he does the 3 arrows that go over, and that arrow, when it hits a target, will arc to another target and arc to another target. So he actually has the chain lightning taser stuff that he can do if the enemies are in groups. So he's great for fighting. If you have a big scrum going on over here and you're out in the distance supporting that electromagnetic flurry shot is going to be awesome for you because you're going to be doing damage to a lot of opponents in there. So, spinning carrying kick combo and the grapple line combo. Very cool. Grapple line combo. Shoots a grapple arrow, okay? Or actually, he throws the grappling line in, he'll pull you in, and then he'll be able to do a kickback, okay? That thing retreats out. So you hold down the square button and he'll be able to, you activate the power, pull the guy in, hold down the square button, he'll do the flip kick and actually jump back out to range again, all right? The other one that he does is the spinning crane kick combo, where he will actually jump into the melee, okay? And then do, or, actually wait, am I getting that wrong? Wait, did I get that wrong? Did I get that backwards?
Sounds backwards.
No, it's right.
But
He pulls in and then wraps out, then he lunges in and wraps out. And does the, oh sorry, he lunges in and then does the extra PBA, or the extra punch. That's what it is. So you can actually lunge in, do the punch, lunge back out if you want to, or with the grapple line and pull him in. So it's an in-out kind of mechanic. Does that make sense? You go in, extra move, back out, and you go extra move. Okay? So very cool in conjunction with each other. Spinning crane kick combo and grapple line combo. I like playing the character a lot. It's a lot of fun. And it feels very Green Arrow because we really are focusing on all the trick arrows and stuff like that. So any questions on him? Yeah.
You had mentioned you're waiting for the weapon mastery mechanics to go through. Within the Deathstroke, you're using weapon mastery and
Just Deathstroke.
And not actually weapon mastery, but
Yeah.
weapon mastery tech,
Yeah.
I'll point out, was actually the ability to swap the weapon mesh on the fly, not so much the weapon mastery combos.
So he has set combos that he can do, and it's more of taking out the weapon. And so we didn't have the ability to actually change the mesh. So he would still be holding the rifle in his hand when you were trying to get him to do an attack with a sword, for example. Yeah.
I got a couple questions. Stuff like the cryogenic arrow, does that cause like slow or kinetic change?
Yeah, there's all kinds of. Unfortunately, I had all of these like listed out, but this isn't an actual PowerPoint. It's a slideshow of some kind. So I had all the notes on here for the stuff. But that's it is a. I believe is it an encase?
No, it's a root.
It's a root, right? It goes. Sorry, the ice appears under
well
the root.
received.
And then, like, are there vulnerabilities to using some of these powers? Like, I know Wonder Woman, her finisher is vulnerable to block. Something like the grapple line combo or the
If it's a combo, it should be,
You'll
if
have
it's a combo where you're holding melee or range or tapping melee or range, it'll generally have a vulnerability. It should.
It's like all other.
If there aren't,
all those
then
other combo
it's something
types
we're
have
gonna fix.
vulnerability on the outside. So Kyle's pencil will have counter mechanic on the second hit with the pencil. So you can think of it like that. Same thing with the pulverizing punches for Guy. Anything else on Green Arrow? Is it excited for Green Arrow?
Yes.
Yeah. No. So honestly, that came up, right? And wanted to. Who asked that, by the way? Of course you did. Okay.
Reskin explosive shot.
What?
Reskin explosive shot in box.
No. So it is kind of ridiculous, right? I mean, it is very golden agey kind of, trick arrow. When you look at the show and the kind of contemporary stuff that they have on that, it's definitely not getting into boxing glove arrows and things like that. I remember reading a comic a while ago where Connor, his son, was up in the watchtower and he was looking at his father. This is when Ollie was dead. He was looking at his father's arrow set as a collection in the armory for the Justice League, like past members and stuff like that. And he looked at the boxing glove arrow and he was like, "How the hell did he shoot that?" And it was just like in awe of the fact that that was actually effective in any way possible. And so when the thing came up about the boxing glove arrow, I just kept having that panel in my head, and I was no, it's ridiculous. So yeah, we wanted to give him a more believable kind of feel with the tech in the arrows that he has, and just make him a little more modern day. They certainly wouldn't put a boxing glove arrow if he appears in the Justice League movie in the future. And if they did, I bet it would be just absolutely the most ridiculously laughed at and mocked moment in the movie. So we'll see what kind. And I doubt Schneider would do it in the first place, but we'll see. Yeah.
I know the game's not really tied into the CW show or anything like that, but do you think the popularity of the show is going to have a direct effect on the purchasability of Green Arrow?
Probably. These things always, kind of cross-promote and generate interest in each other. Yeah, I think it will, for sure. Eric, our brand manager, gives me crap all the time because I'll confess it right here. I gave up on the show about 3/4 of the way through the first season, and I never watched the second season.
Me too.
So he keeps telling me that the second season is much better than the first season, and I need to go back to it and check it out.
Get on it.
So my wife watches Grey's Anatomy all the time, all right? And I sit there and I just groan and I suffer through it. And I try not to make too many comments, but whenever I was watching Arrow, it was just MSTK all the time from her on the back of the couch, and I was like, I can't watch this anymore, please. So yeah, it was a little too far out there for her. So I ended up getting. She got in my head, man. She got in my head. I gotta give it a try again on second season. I hear it's very cool with Slade and everything. All right, so those are the next 3 legends that we have coming up. Ted and I will probably do, or maybe even Drenz and myself will do a preview of these. The other 2 you haven't seen yet, Gardner and Green Arrow, sometime in the future when we get closer to releasing these things and give you guys an actual glimpse at their powers and stuff. But for now, you can definitely check out the Blue Lantern Kyle Rayner preview that we did a while back and see what he's all about. These are very cool Legends characters, and I think you're going to enjoy them a lot. And I know they are much requested, especially starting with this guy. Originally, to give you a little behind-the-scenes look at things, we got off our cadence in Legends characters, and one of the reasons that we really are liking splitting up the DLCs and being able to deliver things to you in different kinds of chunks was a prime example of this. I mean, we had wanted Blue Lantern Kyle and Red Lantern Guy Gardner to come out around the time that World of Light Part 1 was coming out, but they just weren't going to be done in time. So that's why they're sort of chosen, and why they're ahead of somebody like Green Arrow or Deathstroke, why there's lag in terms of us kind of getting to the feedback from you guys, because we have stuff in the pipe, and now we're waiting to try and kind of finish these things off and get them out of there. People are wondering, well, it doesn't make sense now. They're just releasing Halls of Power. Why isn't it this character or that character? Why is it these 2 characters that are coming up next? Well, it all has to do with us trying to start something over here, maybe biting off a little more than we can chew for whatever reason, some outside of our control, and having to kind of adjust and release those things separately. So this will free us up thematically. You can expect that if you want a Legends character, it's going to come out, regardless of the theme of the DLC. We don't have to do an Atlantis DLC if we wanted to release an Aquaman character down the road. Okay? Just frees us up greatly. Yeah. Why no cheering for Aquaman Legends? No, see, not good enough. Sorry, it's not going to happen. Okay,
Which one of these characters are going to marketplace? Which one of them are going to be personal?
So our plan for Legends characters going forward is to really bolster our membership benefits. So you're going to see Legends characters are going to be available to unlock in-game for Marks of Legend for members. If you are not a member, you're not going to have access to unlocking them. You have to purchase them. So a member can have a choice. And when you do unlock them, it's going to be on that character, not across the whole account. If you are a member and you want to actually purchase that Legends character outright, you'll get it on all the accounts, but you certainly can earn it if you want to. So none of them are going to be just outright granted and unlocked on the day that you get them, unless you have marks stored up and can get it rather quickly.
So once you have them unlocked, the membership lapse, you still have to get them.
Yes, that is true. Once you, it's just like the superpower, right? If you were to create your character with a superpower, but your membership lapses, you're going to still have access to that character. You may have to disable other characters on your account, but you certainly still can play the guy you left open if it had light, for example. You don't have a DLC. Yeah, don't let it lapse is a great solution. We like that solution. But yes, you will always have access to it. Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think if you're legendary and you want to purchase legend characters as opposed to earning all the marks, it says granted already. You don't really have an option.
No, they fixed that.
Yeah, that was
I saw that, and then Marketplace went down, came back up, and then I was able to buy Wonder Girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
What Marks of Legend cost are you looking at?
I think it's the same as Supergirl.
So 100?
Yeah, 100.
Okay.
750.
Right. So 100. But that first, well, yeah, because honestly, the only reason I say that is because that was the first time we tried it. So we are going to be looking at feedback and how it was unlocked and all these kind of things. And, sometimes pricing can change based on a lot of different factors. Especially marks and things for gear. Like look at what the discourse that we had with you guys over the Halls of Power gear and what the pricing was going to be and the options we had there and how we were going to handle that. So, all that stuff is always malleable. But for now, I believe we're targeting what Supergirl was. Any other questions before I get to that? No. Curse, bringing the room to a stop. What's up, Curse?
Will any of these have finishers? Please say no.
Finishers?
Yeah, like the Supergirl and the Wonder Woman.
Oh, you mean executes?
Yeah, executes.
Okay, I'll just say right now, if you don't think that Deathstroke is going to have a finisher, you are a fool. Because he is going to have a finisher. Or an execute. Yeah, we really call it an execute. Which perhaps finisher is more brand friendly.
Yes, it is.
We're going a little more Mortal Kombat. Although that is finished of it. It's ripped its spines out. Ours is just an execute of my shield, and it's an execute. Alright, whatever.
The only one that's actually an execute is cadence. It's trying to execute that.
That's true. Well, I don't know. If you I think in another franchise, the most violent thing I ever saw in a comic actually was Captain America just bringing that shield down on somebody. I think the onomatopoeia was pop, and you just saw the shadow of a head. No, it was the whole head. Yeah.
There was another one that was just an op.
Oh, what's it? What's that? Was it? Okay. I don't know if that would be okay in the True Blood universe, sir. There are people too now. All right. Okay, so Legends PvP. PvE, sorry. No, just PvE. Skip this part. So why don't we have it already? Why you're probably wondering, like, why isn't this already here? Well, I'll explain that right now. So, first of all, we want to get some text so we can do the Highlander rule, which is that there can be only one. As you know, in Legends PvP, it's a simulation, and you can have 5 or 4 or however many Batmen on your team that you want to have on your team. Really, I think a lot of that came about because when we were making the game originally, we launched it, we gave you Robin, and just Robin. That's all you really had. So you run into a problem about finding matches if all you have to choose from is Robin and everybody in the game has Robin. So obviously early in the game, do you remember those Robin on Harley matches that were just like, we didn't have cross-faction PvP either, so it was just like sidekicks galore versus sidekicks galore. And people started unlocking stuff over time and you would get more variety, but you still see to this day, multiple characters of the same type. And I think when you're dealing with PvP, I think that's okay, right? Be interesting to have a mode in PvP, though there can only be one. Maybe when we do our UI change and really deal with our queuing of how we're going to be, bringing people together and letting people kind of self-organize more, that might be more appropriate. But right now, it's not with the blind queues. It would just take too long to get a match together. But if you could get a group together that wanted to do that, and then it would start eliminating things on the selection board, that's something we can move toward PvE or PvP. But with PvE, it's something we want. Why? Because you're actually facing, as player versus environment, you're facing iconic characters. Okay, so let's use, for the purpose of this panel for the rest of the time, actually the League of Assassins Stronghold as an example. Okay, because there are no conflicting iconics that are in that map that you're going to be fighting that are actually on the Legends roster. Okay, we'll actually have you be able to select one. You'll go in there, queue up as a group, and then you will be able to select a Legends character. So we're going to have to do something where if somebody only has one unlocked, we are literally going to have to put in a preview mode of, a grant mode of like, these 4 Legends are free this month to play in PvE Legends. So if you only have Robin unlocked and somebody selects Robin, do you have to get kicked out and look for another group? No. You actually have to select one of the other ones that we are saying are unlocked for you in this particular run of the map. And so that's the whole issue with the tech that we need to get for the Highlander rule. All right, we have to work out that flow of entering into matches and getting the group to select an individual person. Because honestly, having 4 Batmen run around and face Ra's al Ghul, while it is still a simulator, It just doesn't feel right. It's going to feel better and feel more authentic as a PvE experience if there aren't duplicates of characters running around in the map. Okay, so that's just something from a creative standpoint that we want to wait for. We feel it's important. So implementation. Would you talk a little bit about, well, first off, let me say, what we're targeting right now is alerts for this. Okay, so it's 4-player, all right? And we're going to be it's going to be more, I don't want to get into too much on this, but taking the actual alerts and doing the rewards and the balance. Can you talk about that really quick?
Without the notes, I'm not sure I can.
Okay. Well, there's an implementation cost to this. It takes time, just like when we take a raid and we turn it into an alert. That's not just changing the number of players that can go into it. There's a lot more that goes into converting that. So there will be a lot more that goes into converting a piece of content you can play as your unique character with group dynamics to playing as a Legends character. Because you don't have those roles and things like that.
But with the roll buff, we can do that. The roll buff, we can do that with the Legend PvE. But we also have to balance it to make sure we go through the content, make sure those guys are set up, the NPCs are set up where you can actually beat it. Because if it's content that's built for needing specific type of roles, obviously like raids and stuff like that, it's just not possible right now. We need a tank and it was a tank, that's not going to work. You need controllers A and B, you can do that because there's no way there to lock them down guaranteed.
So there's some implementation concerns that need to go into there. We have to scope it out. And to be honest with you, we're still planning. Right? One of the things is, what are you striving for here? What are the rewards? You know, how do we do kind of achievement-based stuff with this? Okay, there's a lot of complicated questions as well. We want you to know that we're thinking about it and we are planning on doing this. And it's not something we're planning on doing in the years down the road. It's something we're planning on doing much sooner than that. But we are still tinkering with the logistics of this, okay, and trying to prototype it. All right? Yeah.
Is there any plan in any of this to also be able to queue in to like PvE content with your own character?
No.
No, not currently.
You said something about we might have to make these Legends free this month. Will reskins play into PvE content? Because I think this also pre-order players if you give us classic Batman even in PvE.
So when we redo the UI, likely all of those choices will collapse under the one character.
What kind of reward structure are you looking for? Are they going to be awarding marks of legend for this, or PvE?
I don't want to commit 100% to it, but likely marks of legend.
Okay.
Yes.
And feats.
And well, yeah, and or some combination of achievement stuff, which I'll go into actually on a later slide. That's okay. It wasn't your fault. It was hers. Go ahead.
What heroes do you play in heroes and playing villains or anything?
No, it's agnostic to that. You can play whatever you want, and quite frankly, we're not going to go down that route either. Of you can only group heroes with heroes and only group villains with villains. So this is going to be, but again, that's an interesting thing to try and figure out too, in terms of what the actual NPC faction types and things like that will do in these cases. So there is a lot of content invested. I guarantee you when we put this in, we'll be like, oh crud, we're gonna have to change all this, and then we'll play it. Be like, oh crud, we're gonna have to change some of this stuff.
Actually, I've already talked about that. So we should be able to do it the same way we do the cross faction PvP.
Okay,
Just change the player's faction so our content works.
Yes, King. Or Bumblebee.
Are we looking at more towards like the free-to-play like instances that like Lola is one of the ones that's in the free-to-play category, or are we thinking about DLC ones?
Let me move on to the next slide, next couple of slides, and I have been doing questions after each of the legends. Maybe I should just go through each of these a little bit and then ask some questions afterwards, because some of them are touching on subjects I'm going to hit right now. Okay. So what is it? Play as iconic. You must own the iconic character you're going to play, unless, as we talked about, with the exception of the Highlander rule, we have some kind of rotation. And that's likely going to change too, right? It'll not be the same thing every time we do one of these things. It's going to be existing content. Okay, there's not going to be a Legends PvE instance that isn't something you can't play as your main character. Okay? Now, not every instance that you can play as your main character is going to be available for Legends PvE, because some of them don't make sense. and some of them are not targeted to the type of group size that we want to actually do for these things. I'll make that clear in a second. It's going to be calendar based. These things like survival mode and like other seasonal events are going to come and go. They're going to be in the events tab. They are going to rotate in and out. All right. They're always going to be relevant to you because there are going to be marks that you can achieve, rewards that you can achieve that will be good for helping you actually unlock new Legends characters that we introduce to the marketplace. And whether that be something you want to use for PvP or PvE, you can actually play both and unlock the characters to use in both of these modes. And it's always going to be fresh. Also, the relevant thing to use, the challenge is always going to be the same. If you think about iconic anomalies and iconic visions, those you don't just start smashing those because we're now on tier 9 and that thing was released in tier 5. These things have a set challenge level because they're balanced against the legend character itself. And they're always going to be fresh because even though they're using existing content that we're going to use, we're constantly putting in new content. So you're going to see it's not just going to be League of Assassins Stronghold year after year after year after year. We actually, and when we get to like, Halls of Power, War of the Light Part 2, there's some content in there that's the appropriate size for this kind of thing. You might see some Legends PvE going on there, right? So the calendar-based thing is interesting too. It will come and go, like I said, and it will be event-based in the event tab. Right? What are the rewards? We talked about that a little bit. So feats, kind of things you want to do. Play League of Assassins Stronghold as Batman, and it's Huntress and Nightwing and Robin and Batman. So you get a group together that goes through all 4 of those characters, and you get a cool feat. I don't know what the name will be. I'm sure Nerd of Prey will come up with something brilliant for it, and it will be quite appropriate. But you'll be able to earn feats for tackling the content in certain ways, agnostic of the character roster, actually bringing to bear a certain character roster against the content to get a certain feat while doing it. Titles. Titles are a really cool feature we're adding to the game where you can do something, a feat do some content in a certain way, much like a feat or an achievement. And instead of giving you skill points or feat points, it'll actually give you the ability to put something over your head as a moniker, like Tikkun, Defender of Krypton, okay, or the amazing Captain Liberty. You can do stuff like that with your titles. And marks, obviously we want to give you marks of Legends. There's no gear dropping in this. There's not going to be any kind of stuff that you need, like a boots of OP or anything like that dropping out of these things. It's strictly mark progression and achievement based. And perhaps more. As I said, we're still planning on this stuff. Okay. So questions and vague answers, because I've already pretty much given specific answers on anything else. Daddy, I saw you starting to raise your hand. I see. Say that again? Sorry, I got distracted. Yeah. So that's correct. We're going to have to work on tech like that, which likely we won't target that content for an event like this in the beginning until we have the tech to actually be like, you can't play Batman in this way. So this is going to come out in stages, and at first we're going to just avoid conflicts like that altogether to make it easier on getting these things out there, and we'll put those kind of things in later for the restrictions. I got time for no more questions because it's 12:59 now. I'll do one more. Who hasn't asked one yet? Chris.
On the addition of feats, would there be a chance for a slight bonus for doing like that?
You mean like a synergy?
5%, yeah.
Like a synergy kind of thing?
Yeah.
Well, I had promised putting Tunso in the hot seat, but we ran out of time. But we'll talk about that really quick.
Yeah, so I know Batman and Robin was they were launched with kind of a synergy bonus, but for a lot of reasons Jens mentioned, I've been really kind of resistant to that idea going forward because we don't want to set up a best combination kind of situation. So probably not. We might think about it for maybe specific content, but it's probably not likely.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.